treachery of the Master of Whispers was fruitless, but victory came at a great cost. Lord Captain Theodora von Valancius perished along with her heir, Edelthrad, and thousands of crew members. Yet hope remained, for the second in line to the rogue trader dynasty survived, and through the strength of his resolve, saved those who were counting on him for protection.
Good music. I haven't mentioned it, but music's good. Deep shadows of weariness can be seen on Abelard's face. Though the old officer's eyes are keen, they rake over you from head to toe. He frowns, mutters something, then nods to himself. Well then, your lordship. You cannot help but notice that the seneschal does not know how to talk to you or where to begin. His hesitation brings an involuntary smirk to your face, as though someone else entirely is gloating at the old officer's confusion. Seeing your smile, Abelard pulls himself together. You must now hold your first officer's briefing in your new role as Lord Captain. For many of those who are about to join us on the bridge, this will also be their first briefing. We sustained massive losses among the senior and middle-ranking officers. Some posts have had to be filled by the deputy's deputy, while others go unfilled entirely. And now the deck clans are deciding who will take over the leaderless crews. Alright, is it time for us to see? Okay, can't save during dialogue. Just wanted to check. How did we come to lose so many officers? It appears the heretics were deliberately targeting the vessel's command. They knew exactly whom they were looking for and where they could be found, which is unsurprising given that their informant on board was our own Master of Whispers. He grimaces. And what is on the agenda for the meeting? Reports on the condition of the ship and crew. The Lord Captain is not usually drawn away from her important affairs to attend such routine briefings. But this is a unique situation. I am still receiving updates from across the ship, and they are not encouraging. Getting this bird to fly could take a gargantuan effort, even so far as you personally negotiating with the authorities of the system we are currently in. So prepare to hear a bevy of complaints and excuses, your lordship. Take this opportunity to get a good look at the officers who work 6 decks away from the bridge, and they in turn will have the honor of beholding the visage of their Lord Captain. Have we tracked down Voitver? Abelard grits his teeth. No Lord Captain, and all the commotion, his trail went cold. Our people are still on the hunt for him, and any mutineers who still may be skulking in the ship's many corridors. But frankly, I would not be surprised to hear that we are now 1 shuttle short. I'm afraid that it will be some time before he answers for all that he has wrought. I mean, do I even want to say that? I kind of want to be the rogue trader, so I'm not even going to say it. I am ready to start the briefing, summon the officers. I am hungry for power, baby. With a gesture, Abelard relays the order to the adjutants at the far end of the magnificent chamber. A dozen pairs of eyes bore into you, the expressions revealing restraint, joy, curiosity, and wariness. Attention officers, you have been granted an honor. Lord Captain Vernacular von Valancius will personally conduct today's briefing. Our most gracious Lord Captain is ready to hear your reports. Perhaps you would introduce those present, Abelard? As you wish, your lordship. He points to a tall, slender woman whose body seems to contain as many implants as it does flesh. Vigdis Suri Otta of the Toloman line, our new Vox Master. Okay, Vox is basically our communication system. Look at that, wow. It is an honor to serve your lordship, the Vox. Master offers a deep bow. Aboard this vessel, you have at your command thousands of crew and hundreds of officers and section chiefs. I am responsible for receiving, processing, and sending all communications between you and them. as well as external sources. I am your eyes and mouth, Lord Captain. Beside her is Ravor, the Master Helmsman. He steers our ship along the course set by the Lord Captain and monitors the void around us to ensure that we do not stray into an asteroid field or a pirate trap. The bearded man with pale, almost transparent skin, large dark circles under his eyes, and a dour expression that seems hardwired into his face gives a sullen nod. Hail, Lord Captain, this here ship's as good a home to me, so rest assured she's in safe hands. I'll die before I let her come to any grief. So we no longer have a navigator, is that right? So I wonder if we can no longer go into the void until we find a new navigator? And lastly, our High Factorum Generous Denrock, who oversees supplies, procurement, and the general material well-being of the ship. Look at this guy. Oh my gosh. Dressed in an embroidered jacket, the heavyset man with oiled hair offers an obsequious smile and bows. It is an honor, your lordship. You may trust me with all matters concerning your comfort. Everything will be done to the highest standard. In the second row, we have the 3 officers charged with overseeing the ship's vital functions. The Master of Ordnance is responsible for the artillery aboard, the Infernus Master, whose crew work to prevent and extinguish fires on the ship, and lastly, the Drive Master, servant of the Omnissiah. So the machine god is the Omnissiah, a supernatural entity, god of all knowledge, worshipped by the Adeptus Mechanicus. With a god emperor, I'm actually surprised that a machine god is allowed in this world. I would be interested to know more lore about that, because I thought the god emperor would be the only thing that would be allowed to be worshipped. The 3 officers salute you. The Infernus Master does so with confidence, while the Master of Ordnance betrays nervousness. The Drive Master offers a salute resembling a dance involving the complicated manipulation of all of the tech priests' mechadendrites. A tentacle-like robotic limb prosthetic surgically attached to the spine. Lovely. Alright. Is that everyone? Unfortunately, our choir master, the esteemed Zachary Weiss, head of the Astropath section, a powerful sanctioned psyker who can send and receive messages through space using their telepathic abilities. Interesting. So the choir master is part of this Astropath. Has nothing to do with music. Is unable to join us. He is in charge of communications with distant star systems. Master Weiss has been in a trance for some time now, attempting to contact other planets in the Von Valancius Protectorate and inform them of Lady Theodora's passing and Kunrad Voigtvir's treachery. I will deliver a report to your lordship on the Astropath's progress as soon as it is possible to do so. All others present are adjutants, secretaries, and deputies. They are here to make a record of proceedings. Okay. Master Helmsman, deliver your status report. Right you are, Lord Captain. To cut a long story short, the outlook is bleak. The ship sound, more or less, but without our engine seer. They always got to make it something a little bit different, huh? The engine seer, a tech priest whose specialization is the maintenance and repair of sacred machines. Alright, so, the ship's sound, more or less, but without our engine seer prime and navigator, who fell in the battle, we have no way out of the system. If we try to set so much as a toe inside the warp, I don't know what'll happen first. Our warp drive being torn to pieces, or all of us melting into the bulkheads. Yeah, let's not try it. Your lordship, if you will allow me to interject, when we arrived in the system, my crew followed standard protocols and conducted a count of all of the available communication channels in the region. One of them was Navis Nobilite Station. The station maintains complete Vox silence, but even its presence here inspires hope. To have located a navigator in the very same system is an incredible stroke of luck, a true blessing from the God Emperor. An ancient organization of noble mutant families whose genes allow them to safely guide warp-capable void ships through the Imperium. Okay. A sharp bolt of pain lances through your skull as if in response to what you just heard. You understand that it is not the God Emperor you should thank for such good fortune. The words of the demon that appeared before you during the translation to real space echo in your mind. I am the wheel of the Weaver of Destinies, and today I will weave a new thread of elusive possibilities and fickle chances. The thread that will lead you out of the maw of irreversibility. The thread that will help you find the keys to salvation. Interesting. If I were you, I'd grab this chance with both hands, or else you'll soon be eyeing up asteroids to use as your new residence. In slightly less shitty news, we can go around and around this system till our heads are swimming, as long as the promethium and supplies last. And if any thick as groks shit lowlifes come sniffing around, we'll be able to take them out, so don't you worry on that score. Alright, the Infernus Master's report, please. Yes, Lord Captain, the tall young man bows his head in deference. I can report that all fires across all decks have now been extinguished. The preliminary damage assessment in terms of material losses and crew casualties has been completed. The results have been submitted to the Seneschal and the High Factotum. The post passed to him after the previous Infernus Master and his next 3 deputies expired in the line of duty. Abelard remarks in a low voice, pitched for your ears only. The lad is managing well so far. He can take the heat, so to speak. High Factotum, what have you to report? We are toiling day and night to compile a full account of the losses. The task will require next to no involvement from your lordship. I will personally ensure that all damaged components are given into the tech priest's hands for attention, and that all lost supplies are replaced. There is only one resource that I cannot replenish single-handedly, and that is people. We have lost more than 2,000 crew members, and unfortunately this number is not confined to the scum from the lower decks, which are easily replaced, but also includes trained professionals. We will be able to make up our losses on the nearest planet, Rykad Minoris. However, the planet, the whole system in fact, belongs to the Winterscale Rogue Trader dynasty. We cannot simply begin recruiting on the planet without first coming to an understanding with the governor. In that respect, I am powerless. Negotiations at this level are a matter of the Rogue Trader. Especially true given Kalangos Winterscale's penchant for attacking first and asking questions later, and the kind of thick-skulled thugs he usually installs as governors on his planets. Okay, interesting. So we may actually come into conflict with other rogue traders. They're some of the only people in the galaxy who have almost equal power to another rogue trader, so... Okay, Drive Master, I'll hear from you now. A voice distorted by a Vox Re-translator emerges from under the tech priest's scarlet hood. Lord Captain, the foes that set upon this noble void ship destroyed the repositories of hundreds of machine spirits. The great warp engine entrusted into my charge is unharmed, thank the Omnissiah. But its spirit mourns its dead brethren. We have not yet identified a prayer protocol capable of assuaging its sorrow and anger. Machine spirits, a spirit believed by the adherents of the cult Mechanicus to inhabit and control any technology in existence. Let's see. Okay, that's just more stuff to do with the warp. With great sorrow, I must also report that the Engine Seer Prime Overseer and Spiritual Authority of all tech priests on board fell in battle. The Magos was betrayed by the little flesh that remained part of him. A most terrible loss. There is no one among my comrades aboard whose experience and comprehension of the sacred protocols equals that of the fallen Magos. We'd require a replacement, and as soon as possible. I see, thank you. The tech priest bows her head. Master of Ordnance, do you have anything to report? The Master of Ordnance gives you a gloomy look. No, my job's simple. Maintain the arsenal and fire when I'm told. Just ask anyone. We've got no able crew, no Lord Captain. Master of Ordnance, you forget yourself. The Master of Ordnance chokes back his words. He was obviously about to blurt out without thinking. He casts another look at you before lowering his gaze. I am your Lord Captain, thank you very much. I apologize profusely, Lord Captain, pardon the fool. The ship is in ruins. Every other officer is dead, and the Lord Captain is no longer with us. Fear has taken hold of me. He looks up at you, but I've heard of you. Oh yes, your fame has reached even as far as the Expanse. I can't be showing myself up in front of an illustrious person such as yourself. He adjusts his uniform and stands ramrod straight. The Master of Ordnance can report that the rest of the arsenal has been saved and the battery is in good order. We are ready to fight if that is the Lord Captain's will. So, to summarize, we have sustained serious losses in crew members and we require a new engine seer, prime, and navigator. Is this all that is preventing us from continuing the voyage? Precisely, Lord Captain, but bear in mind that this will not be the end of our trials. The ship's systems must be properly inspected for major damage, which can only be carried out at Footfall Station, home to the only dockyard in the sector, but we will never reach Footfall without first solving these 3 immediate problems. A massive void portal on the edge of the Koronus Expanse, and a notorious hotbed of vice, trade, and rogue trade intrigue. What can you tell me about the system in which we currently find ourselves? I cede to the Voxmaster on this point, Mistress Tolomon. We are in the Rykad star system, and our voyage here was undertaken on the orders of your lordship's predecessor. There are 3 inhabited bodies in the system, and our attempts to send Vox messages have produced confounding results. The Navis Nobilite station has not simply failed to answer, it seems to be maintaining total Vox silence. However, we did receive a distress signal from the prison planetoid in the system, and Rykad Minoris itself is also not responding to our hails. But what is most alarming is that our augurs have intercepted signals from the surface that seem to indicate ongoing hostilities on the planet. Augurs are sensor technology that allows void ships to scan planets, spot enemies, and obtain various other kinds of data. The situation is not very encouraging, but without a navigator, a tech priest, and new crew members, we won't be able to travel anywhere. Therefore, we must go to the planet and the Navis Nobilite station and find out what in the void is going on. Well, thank you all for your reports. Dismissed. Your lordship, there is one other thing. A confidential matter of the utmost importance. Lady Theodora. Abelard hesitates. Your eternally esteemed predecessor brought the ship here to the system for a reason. She was given a secret commission. You perhaps are wondering who has the authority to commission a rogue trader to do anything. And I shall tell you, the Lord Inquisitor, the hand of the Emperor, the chief architect of his will in the Koronus Expanse. The secret organization tasked with hunting down the myriad threats to the stability of the Imperium and all mankind. Okay. I came across a strange handwritten letter on Theodora's desk. It was signed XC. You are referring to the contents of that note, I presume? Yes, quite right. XC. Xavier Calcazar. Lady Theodora was to seek out the Lord Inquisitor's right-hand man, one Heinrich van Kallax, an interrogator. You understand. All I know is that he is somewhere in the system. That we must find him and offer him whatever assistance he requires and then deliver him to Footfall in the Floribundus system. Finding him without any more information to go on will be difficult indeed, but an Inquisitor is an important individual. The authorities in the system, either the Navis Nobilite or the governor of Rykad Minoris, may know something. That is all of it, your lordship. You have a great deal of work ahead of you. But it is a mere taste of the daily burden of a rogue trader. Soon you must take up the reins of the House Valancius Protectorate. Abelard gives you another scrutinizing look, as if trying to gauge how long he will hold out under this mountain of problems. His face softens slightly, and it seems he is about to offer some words of encouragement. Adira, Sister Argenta, explain yourselves. The Sister of Battle grimly nods towards Adira. The Psyker is suffering some ailment, or dark madness. She insisted on seeing the rogue trader. I judged that it would be unwise to leave her unsupervised. For a brief moment, Sister Argenta's voice sounds hesitant. I was also hoping to approach you with a personal request, but it can wait. Speak with me when you have time, rogue trader. Adira's glazed eyes rove over those assembled. One word bursts from her lips. Daybreak. Is that, what does that mean? Adira, come to your senses. Damn it. Adira presses her fingers to her temples in desperation. Your lordship, here's the thing. I was trying to see the immediate future and it hit me so hard my head is still spinning. Something very strange is heading our way and I can't make out what it is, no matter how hard I try. A single word is all I can make out. Daybreak. Or maybe it's dawn? And it's ringing and ringing like an echo. Like a bell. But if it is daybreak, then why is it so dark? We cannot extract any information of value from a single word. Can you tell us anything else, Mistress Tlas? No, not yet anyway. The voices are going berserk, all shouting at once. I can't make sense of any of it. As soon as I know or sense anything, I'll report it, alright? Lord Captain, if you want me to take a closer look into your future, find me on the bridge and we can talk. Lady Theodora was well served by my whispers on many occasions, and I'm sure you would benefit from them as well. The Psyker's bitten lips stretch into a wry smile. If there is nothing else of value to report, I declare this briefing concluded. It is time to get to work. Oh my goodness, okay. That was a lot and a lot of reading. Use the system map in the center of the bridge to issue orders to the crew. Okay, here's Argenta.
Rogue trader.
Sister Argenta looks tired. There are dark circles under her eyes, her hair is somewhat disheveled, and she moves like she's a little on edge. You have a personal request for me?
I indeed have a request, Rogue trader.
The accursed servants of chaos who assaulted this ship took the lives of your loyal crew members. They orphaned many children, including the progeny of the brave officers who defended their posts until the bitter end. I don't know what customary practices there are for cases like this in Von Valancius territory, but in the world I'm familiar with, the children of such brave souls could expect to receive some special consideration. Perhaps the rogue trader could meet with the orphans. Let's go with 2. Make arrangements for a meeting worthy of a rogue trader. I will address the orphans with a speech. As you wish, rogue trader. Thank you for granting my request. Oh, are we going straight to it? Okay. Orphan speech. Thank you for the clap, buddy. You will be promoted. You will go high in this rogue trader ship. A group of adolescents, clearly dressed in their finest, freshly pressed clothes, forms a straight line before you. Some stare at you with wide eyes, like you're some mythical creature, while others huddle together in fear and look away. Our indefatigable sister has been keeping an eye on these pups. Abelard glances at the gathered children. It is hardly the Scala Progenium in here, but we have provided the orphans on our ship with adequate care and instruction. Argenta is standing to the side of the group. At your approach, she perks up and announces, her voice ringing. Brave ones, the master of the ship has appeared before you, the one who guides it through the darkness and the universe by the Emperor's will. Greet your Lord Captain, the rogue trader of House Valancius. Okay. Grandly addressed the group. I, the rogue trader and the Lord Captain of the ship, speak to you now. Your parents Your parents gave their lives for a just cause and brought honor to the Von Valancius banners and those of the Imperium. I am proud of them, and I believe that you will become their worthy heirs. The teenagers hang on your every word with bated breath. Only a few at the far end of the row seem sullen and not particularly impressed by your speech. One of the scowling visitors with a thin scar across his face tosses his head back and says bitterly, "So what? Why should we care? Our friends and our parents died in their dozens for your noble lot, and you just give us speeches." Argenta quickly turns to the boy. A flurry of emotions flashes in her dark eyes, like she wants both to calm him and scold him for his impudence. Address the group. If you have things to say them without fear. I will listen. He smiles grimly. It doesn't matter what we say, it won't bring our parents back, and it won't change our fates either. We'll keep slaving away on the ship until we drop and die like our folks or worse. When the heretics who killed your parents attacked the ship, I was there. I took command. I fought and I repelled the assault as quickly as I could. But no war can be won without losses. You can only strive to do what is within your power. You heard the rogue trader. His words carry the wisdom of the Imperium. It's hard to say whether or not your words have left an impression on the boy, but he nods slowly. Then he catches himself and gives you an awkward bow. Abelard gives a sign, and servants immediately emerge carrying packaged treats with Von Valancius emblazoned on the wrappers. It appears that the Seneschal came prepared for any contingency. Give them treats. That'll solve their wounds of their dead parents. This is a dark world. They're just tossing it out. Argenta rubs her temple pensively. She smiles and offers a few more words of encouragement, then leaves the bay. Okay. I will be expecting a follow-up about that later in the game. A thin, pale woman stands out among the rest of the crew. There's a thick bundle of cables coming out of the back of her skull and disappearing under her ceremonial garment. You see the grate of a quietly humming vox where her mouth should be. The woman sees you and bows her head in a respectful greeting. How may I serve you, Lord Captain? Fellowship 40. Connect me to the vessel's main channel. I wish to bolster the morale of my crew. Nice. The Voxmaster nods obediently and presses several switches on the device she is holding. It is done, Lord Captain. 44 experience. You address the crew with a rousing speech and hear your voice roll through the ship, reaching even the normally quiet corners of the vessel. When the broadcast ends, you hear distant shouts of approval. What are the Voxmaster's duties? I am the ears and the voice of the Void Ship. I supervise several dozen officers and 3 times that number of support personnel. We receive, send, encrypt, and decode all incoming and outgoing messages through the ship's internal and external channels. We also ensure clean communications and the optimal efficiency of the crew's Voxcasters. If you ever want to know what worries and concerns your crew are harboring, what your subjects are whispering about in local networks after their watches, and what their leaders are clamoring about over shortwave Vox transmissions, just come and see me. I will satisfy your curiosity. Have they brought you anything interesting lately? Forgive me, Lord Captain, I have no information that would be of interest to you at this moment. And why do you look so strange? This is such a rude thing to ask. Why do you look so strange? My appearance comes from my heritage, generation after generation of people who spent their entire lives in the depths of the Void Ship. Neither we nor our ancestors have ever left our home, but the same can be said about many denizens of the Imperium's million worlds. We are used to the silence of the cosmos and the voices of the ship. There are thousands of us, but we dwell far from the Lord Captain's upper decks and remain unseen. We are the Voidborn. Where does the word Voidborn come from? Because we are the children born in the void between the stars, be it the womb of a traveling vessel, an orbital satellite, or a forgotten asteroid station, low gravity voyages through the warp, and the countless dangers of space travel. Everything others hate and dread is second nature to us. And the lives of the Voidborn and my crew? To us, the groans, creaks, and murmurs of the ship sound the way babbling brooks and singing birds do to world dwellers. We hear the ship breathe, know what it is feeling and thinking. We are a part of this ship, just like it is a part of us. We perform numerous functions, and there are many officers among our number. Some maintain order and prevent mutiny. Others serve as shepherds and support the crew, and some devote themselves to mending the body and spirit of the vessel. Most Voidborn are members of large Void Ship dynasties that bear responsibility for a certain aspect of the ship's life. For 300 years, the main branch of the Ptolemon dynasty has produced this ship's Voxmasters, and most of our subordinates come from the cadet houses of the dynasty. Okay. That'll be all for now. We might talk to you some more later.
Greetings.
Can you tell me about the Adepta Sororitas?
Gladly. There are none more faithful to the God Emperor than my sisters. We fight against his enemies by the will of the Holy Ecclesiarchy. I beg your pardon, rogue trader. Here I am talking about what every lesser noble in the Imperium knows. So what exactly are you interested in hearing about?
What order are you from?
Once I had completed my novitiate, I was sent to the Calixian branch of the Order of Our Martyred Lady, assigned to the Order's Pronatus. The Order's mission is vital and noble. The Sisters Pronatus protect great relics of the Imperium. We guard them, preserve them, escort them when they are brought onto the battlefield or presented for pilgrims to venerate. And we seek out the relics that have been lost. Neither a coven of heretics nor the most wicked death world can deter Sisters Pronatus when their goal is to return a piece of the great legacy of the Imperium into the hands of the faithful.
They say that the Adepta Sororitas are the fiercest in their faith among the warriors of the Imperium. Is it true?
It is. The Sisters of Battle are a fire lit by the God Emperor. They are the echo of his voice that travels through the dark expanses of the universe. We bring his wrath to heretics, mutants, and other enemies of humanity. We protect the faithful from the unholy and unhallowed. Sometimes with words, more often than not with a bolter.
Are all sisters truly as faultless as you say?
Even the novices of the Adepta Sororitas are drawn from among the most worthy. Those who have taken the vows and become a full-fledged sister are the best of the best, tested by trials of body and spirit. Yes, there have been cases when a sister stumbled or showed weakness, but do not expect to hear a story of depravity or downfall from me. Each such occurrence is a great tragedy for us all. Light cannot bear the smallest speck of darkness within. And thus those who have trespassed or shown weakness of spirit are given a chance at redemption. They are called Sisters Repentia, and may the enemy tremble before her, for nothing can stop a sister of battle who yearns to be cleansed of fault and weakness. Wearing nothing but robes, no armor, eviscerator in hand, those sisters who have once faltered find repentance on the battlefield. Their lives are seldom long, but a death in the name of purgation is a better fate than to live with a shadow in one's soul.
Is the implication that the only way to cleanse themselves is to die in that service? You said you belonged to the Calixian branch of your order. What brought you to the Koronus Expanse?
The Order sent me to Footfall. My undertaking was to assist the local priesthood of Drusians in caring for a sacred reliquary that had been there since the time of Parson Mr. Wayne, the station's founder.
Followers of the cult of St. Drusus, a legendary hero of the Angevin Crusade, who founded the Calixus sector for the Imperium of Man. Are there any other members of the Adepta Sororitas in the Koronus Expanse?
None that I'm aware of, but the Sisterhood's orders are many, and can operate independently of one another, sending their sisters wherever their presence is needed as deemed by the ecclesiarchy. Perhaps somewhere in the Lord Inquisitor's retinue, may his path be blessed, my sisters perform their duty as we speak. I wish it were so. Even a single evening spent in joint prayer and training would bring me joy.
Now, when we first met her, it was implied that she was a close friend to the former rogue trader, so I wonder if we'll learn more about that.
Should any more arise, keeping them to yourself would be imprudent.
Right here,
It is a virtue to take an interest in holiness.
How did you end up on Theodora's ship?
I first came here when I found myself in need of passage from Footfall to a remote planet. But I imagine what interests you is not that first journey, but rather what brought me aboard prior to the pirate attack. That story is complicated. It just so happened that I made a mistake. In a moment of laxity, I was ambushed by the accursed followers of the archenemy. I was badly wounded. Lady Theodora came to my aid and brought me aboard her ship, while her crew attended to me in my weakened state. It all happened not too long ago. I'd barely recovered from my wounds when the pirates struck. Truly, the servants of evil know no rest. There is no place where we can be safe from their machinations.
What happened to the people who wounded you? Did Theodora's men eliminate them?
Sadly, they did not. Lady Theodora was in a hurry and chose not to stay on the planet. Her people took me to a ship while I was unconscious, and when I came to my senses, we were already flying away. How I pray to come face to face with those heretics once more. And it's bound to happen someday.
Ooh, I can smell a companion mission. You mentioned a mistake?
It happens even to the best of us.
Don't get defensive
My
now.
mistakes are my burden to bear. I'll find a way to atone for them.
Where did this happen?
On one of the recently discovered planets in the Expanse. No one suspected that it had already been tainted by the filth of heresy. Had I known it beforehand, of course I would have been on my guard.
We could go to that planet and deal with the Chaos Worshippers.
The path to that planet was lost. All the knowledge is gone, along with the previous navigator. It would take immense effort and resources to rediscover the route. The heir to the Von Valancius Protectorate must have plenty of other issues to deal with right now. Perhaps later, when the skies above our heads have cleared.
You got it. What was it like traveling on Theodora's ship?
I hadn't been here that long. Just one journey from Footfall, and the other journey, the majority of which I spent in the confines of the medbay. I can't tell you much about the first voyage. I was more focused on prayers and ruminations than on the people around me, or the journey itself. During the last journey, Seneschal Viserion stood out for me. He came by several times to ask about my health. He's an honorable man and a loyal servant of the Imperium. I think he is as meticulous in his inspections of the logistic systems as he is in his inquiries about the health of the occasional sister of battle aboard the ship. But not all of Theodora's people have earned my trust. You know who I'm talking about. There is no place for Adira Tlas among the God Emperor's faithful. I'm surprised she wasn't in league with the pirates. And I'm equally surprised by how deep heresy and treason run in this place. I'm glad we all made it through that dark hour. May the day that follows be bright.
So she... the other heir who died, he was also a psyker. I wonder if she would have felt the same way about him, considering he could have ended up being the rogue trader.
As you wish.
Tell me about yourself.
About me? I am the Emperor's daughter and his servant. What else is there to tell about me?
Okay, that's all we get. What is it that's keeping you in my retinue?
This ship was targeted by heretical pirates, which means that my presence here and the assistance I provide to you are my sacred duty. Sooner or later, I will likely have to return to Footfall to protect its reliquary. But for now, I wish to remain a part of the rogue trader's crew.
You might be of use to me, so I have no problem with your presence. She gives you a stern look but says nothing, only nodding impassively. Thank you for this conversation until next time. I don't know if she's going to be able to stick with our party, honestly. She goes a little bit strong. Okay, Abelard.
Lord Captain.
He surveys you briskly but meticulously as though he is inspecting you for shortcomings. Then he offers a courteous nod. Let's talk about things that may be useful to me as the rogue trader.
A noble aspiration, Lord Captain. I am ready to acquaint you with all the particulars that interest you.
Outline the situation in the Koronus Expanse for me. What do I need to know to keep in mind?
This is a topic for an official briefing, not a casual conversation. But I will try to answer succinctly. And, if you permit, in my own words. The Koronus Expanse is considerably removed from the heart of the Imperium. This means that local warp routes become useless within months. Established pathways are regularly subject to attacks from all kinds of rabble. And in the only major port, the Imperium's frigates find themselves moored alongside pirate vessels. Until recently, the Koronus Expanse could hardly have been called a region of the Imperium. The situation has changed with the arrival of the Lord Inquisitor, but not by much. This place operates under its own rules, you see. More radical, so to speak. But ones that allow for a non-standard approach where there is a promise of victory. The Koronus Expanse is considered rogue trader territory for a reason. Only rogue traders have sufficient military might, audacity, and the rights granted them by the warrant to survive the leap into the unexplored part of the Expanse, and in the event of a successful outcome, to hold on to whatever they manage to capture on the frontier.
Who are the main players I need to be aware of in the Koronus Expanse?
In the first instance, you should treat official representatives of the Imperium with respect. The Expanse may be on the fringes, but it still numbers among the territories of the Golden Throne. The arrival of the Lord Inquisitor has turned the Koronus Expanse into a less wild and uncontrolled region, to the regret of some individuals who had grown inured to the local lawlessness. Rogue traders such as yourself are also servants of the Imperium. They have been accorded special rights and powers. They wield immense authority within their territory, and they enjoy absolute respect in other parts of the Expanse. The most powerful of them are Caligos Winterscale and Incendia Bastal Chora. Tread carefully when dealing with either of them. If we are to speak of unclaimed territory, which is what Footfall is, among the scum that dwells on that handful of asteroids, there are 3 factions that wield considerable influence in the sector. The first is the Kazbala Commission, organized crime in its most primitive form. It holds sway over the Liege of Footfall and has links to rogue trader Winterscale. The second faction is an offshoot of our shining ecclesiarchy, followers of St. Drusus. They are actively building their forces and hold influence over rogue trader Chorda. And finally, the third faction, the Explorators, a wing of the Adeptus Mechanicus. They are willing to die and kill for the secrets of the ancient technological heresies that are hidden among the stars of the Koronus Expanse.
Okay, Kazbala Commission, the footfall chapter of one of the most successful crime syndicates in the Imperium of Man. Kunrad, our previous Master of Whispers, what can you tell me about his betrayal? What do you think he'll do next?
You know, Lord Captain, I am no admirer of fine art. But when we next find ourselves in a civilized port, with time to spare, I will promptly find an artist and commission a portrait of the individual to whom you refer, with a hole between the eyes. Conrad Voigtveer. That he committed his treachery and escaped with his life was an unforgivable oversight. We both served Lord Captain Theodora for many years, and we never saw eye to eye. He was brash. He was never afraid of assuming responsibility, and he willingly took on difficult tasks. I am loath to admit it, but the Von Valancius Protectorate continues to reap the fruits of his labors to this day. His service always garnered my respect. But everything else about him made me want to wring the neck of that two-faced snake.
And he was considered an heir, but then he messed up in some way and was no longer considered an heir, so I wonder if that's when things flipped.
If you are taking comfort in the thought that we will hear no more of Conrad, prepare to be disappointed. You thwarted his plans, his meticulously plotted and nurtured treachery. He is sure to attempt to strike at you, and he will use his contacts and knowledge of the Protectorate to do so. The only question, Lord Captain, is whether you will be able to anticipate his next steps.
Yeah, that's pretty scary considering we know almost nothing about this ship and its inner workings, but he knows it intimately.
As you wish, Lord Captain.
Definitely has the leg up. I'd like to know more about my Seneschal.
As you wish, Lord Captain. What would you like to know?
Tell me about yourself. What were you before you became Theodora's Seneschal?
I used to be an officer in the Navis Imperialis. No. Used to be is not quite right. It was not simply a job. It was my calling. The essence of my life. I was proud to serve Lord Captain Theodora, but in my heart and mind, I'm still an officer of the Imperium. I met Lord Captain Theodora on a mission where the Imperial Navy was providing reinforcement to the rogue traders' army on one of the frontier worlds. Our acquaintance was not easy. Working with people outside the Navy hierarchy has never been my strong suit. It was to my great surprise then, that after the mission's completion, I received a referral to leave my service in the Navy and join the rogue traders' personal council. It was a difficult choice for me. But I saw in the offer a chance to serve the interests of humanity even more effectively than in the Navis Imperialis. You do not need me to tell you just how remarkable a person Lord Captain Theodora was. I recognized her at once as a true leader and formidable creative force. One who had built a protectorate amidst the dangers and wildness of the Expanse.
So leaving the Imperial Navy is far from easy. Why were you permitted to quit your post? It's because rogue traders have more power than the Navy does, apparently.
You could say there was no one among the naval command who was willing to impede the wishes of the rogue trader. To do so would be to risk their own position and their relationship with Theodora. The Lord Captain possessed certain contacts in the Imperial Navy. Contacts which she used to request help during the conflict on the border world. And which enabled her to make me an offer that resulted in my joining her retinue. Was there something else, Lord Captain?
The way you talk about Theodora, I'm beginning to think you were in love with her. This is really forward of me.
What? Lord Captain, any allegations of improper feelings or unsanctioned relations are utterly baseless and bordering on the insulting. Utterly baseless.
Okay, sure. All right, whatever you guys did in the comfort of her bed is not my business. Do you have a family?
I am a widower. I am a father of 4, and if my information is not outdated, a grandfather of 11.
Damn.
My family lives on Dargonus. None of my children express any eagerness or aptitude for serving aboard ship, and I would hardly have insisted that they follow in my footsteps.
Thank you. No more questions.
Of course.
He's gonna say no to this. You may call me by my first name if you wish.
I thank you for the honor, but I must decline. As a former military officer, I believe in the importance of order in all things, including the chain of command. You are the Lord Captain, my direct superior. I am not prepared to address you in any way other than as regulation dictates.
I must take my leave then. Until next time, Seneschal.
Lord Captain.
Okay. So we can look at this map. Bridge officer, bridge officer. Who else is here? Janris Danrock. The Factotum. The corpulent man in lavish clothes bows before you not without difficulty. A servo skull whirs over his shoulder, while the fingers of his augmented hand drum against the sheaf of papers he is holding, and he regards you with an attentive interest through the lens of his magnifying implant. Greetings, your lordship. Janris Danrock at your service. I want to know more about the people who buy our plunder. Of course, Lord Captain, who interests you exactly? We most often deal with the followers of St. Drusus, the Explorators, the Kasbalika Mission, or Emperor Forgive Us, the Fellowship of the Void. What is the Fellowship of the Void? Janris emits a laugh-like gurgle. A pompous name, is it not? In truth, they are a gang of pirates who are forever squabbling over loot and territory. However, some of their little flotillas need supplies, or can take awkward cargo off our hands without asking questions. Of course, there is always a risk that these scoundrels will change their mind and attempt to board us instead, but so far our macro cannons have managed to keep them in line. They say Ryza Calvaria speaks on the Fellowship's behalf. The Adeptus Amasicus on Footfall is rumored to be her favorite haunt. Why are we giving away our spoils to these people in the first place? Well, to profit from them, of course. Most of the things you will find during expeditions are complete junk to one such as yourself, but the less fortunate and affluent servants of the Emperor think them treasures, especially when they are bestowed by the great rogue trader himself. Drusian fanatics and pirate cutthroats, Kispolica dealers and explorators, none will refuse our help in these dark and trying times, and there may come a time when we shall be the ones requiring aid, and it would be beneficial to have allies willing to provide. Okay. What is this about? I wish to bolster my retinue with skilled fighters? Rest assured, there are people of the most outstanding talents among the thousands of your crew. I will contact the overseers at once. Ah, okay, we can create more characters. Well, cool, good to know. What is the training? Is this, a way for us to reset our characters? I will show you our sparring chambers at once. Reset their progress. Cool. Okay. That's good to know. That's good to know. So if we colossally fuck up our build, we're not screwed. Oh, here's Adira. The tall, middle-aged woman stares straight ahead and her eyes vacant as she rubs the implant at her temple. Her collar is undone and one of the clasps on the verge of is on the verge of falling off. Sensing your presence, Adira turns her head towards you and offers you a crooked smile even as her eyes look right through you. Adira, about your abilities.
What are you talking about, Lord Captain?
You are a psyker. Psykers are only granted the right to live with the Emperor's blessing. Have you ever been to Terra?
Look, Lady Theodora couldn't care less if some eggheads measured my brains or not. It's not about the seal on your forehead, get it? It's about what's in your gut, if it's rotten or not. My gut's stronger than the adamantine on this here ship. And my implants are better than the ones they put in you on your Terra. If they weren't, I wouldn't have lived as long as I have.
So the implants are part of what makes it so that these psykers are able to be sanctioned. It helps them control it, I'm guessing, in some ways. Adira bares her teeth in a savage grin, a febrile gleam in her eyes. Where do you come from?
Lyra, an outlying world in the Heathen Stars region. In the Koronus Expanse, the deeper you go, the less visible the Astronomicon gets, and the less people know about the Imperium. The arrival of a rogue trader is the best thing that can happen to a world like that. The very best.
So the Astronomicon is the psychic beacon that helps navigators to triangulate a course for their void ships through the warp. So that was that thing that I was telling you about. The third eye can see this Astronomicon. Tell me about Lyra.
It's an out-of-the-way planetoid between two faint stars. On Lyra, a dozen local tyrants fight over 5 measly continents. But they use everything they can to win, from poison to psykers. I haven't been there in many years, but there's nothing for me to miss. Trust me. But here on the ship is a different story altogether. I saw more wonders in my first year serving Lady House Valancius than I'd seen in my whole life on Lyra. Like my first journey through the warp, I was in bed for 3 days. I felt like supernovas were exploding in my head. I only found out later that I'd gotten off easy. Just through the bulkhead in the bay next to mine, a whole team turned into... Look at me rambling on, Lord Captain. Pay no attention.
You never finish your story about your first time crossing the warp.
It wasn't like it was a very fun trip, Lord Captain. But look, if you want to be entertained, I'm the woman for the job. I'll entertain you with one of the stories from my collection, no problem. But if you want to hear about the time I melted everyone in the bay next door, well, I just don't really want to go into the details on that one, all right?
Hey, you know what? Fair enough. What did you do before you came to be on this ship?
Oh, I embroidered wall hangings in honor of our national heroes.
Sarcasm.
did the same thing I do here, Lord Captain. Divining. Our rulers prized the ability to see into the future. Every psyker that could be found was worth a small fortune on Lyra. There's no such thing as a peaceful life on Lyra. People like me were especially sought after. They'd pick psychers up wherever they found them, buy kids off their parents, even just abduct them. Take me, for instance. I got taken from my street gang. The older kids sold me when they noticed there was something off about me. The ruling dynasties had schools where they trained us and beat us black and blue. And then they packed us off to serve. Some of us held on for a long time, but others didn't last. Not everyone's as smart and talented as me, you know. Some people crossed the line and were out of commission before their time.
Adira looks at you expectantly, then as though clarifying, she uses her hands to indicate a head exploding and laughs. Jesus, you lead a hard life, girl. How did you end up in the rogue trader service?
Theodora von Valancius paid a visit to the ruler I was serving at the time. I don't know what the visit was for, and it's no business of mine anyway. I can still remember the way the voices in my head changed when I looked at her. They were practically screaming. She had so much behind her, and plenty ahead of her too.
I wonder why she couldn't see the future like the death of Theodora. She seemed very, very upset that she couldn't see it, she should have been able to.
As I gawped at her, all of a sudden I heard a whisper. A hint, a suggestion, nothing more. But I know the difference between idle chatter and a real threat. I seized my chance and approached Theodora. I managed to whisper a couple of words in her ear before the wardens dragged me away. They beat me and locked me up. No wonder. It wasn't my place to converse with outsiders. And then Theodora's people came for me. They broke down the wall, butchered the guards. Also, I could tell them my warning in full. So I said the rest, but I didn't want to go back to my old life. And so I entered the service of the von Valancius dynasty.
Pretty cool story, actually. Have you ever been off the ship?
A few times. Not many. And if I think about it, why would I want to? I've got everything I need here. All the whispers I hear are familiar ones. They almost feel like family. And if I want to hear about the nightmares off the ship, I can, after some Amisec. But don't go getting the wrong idea. If I have to, I'll follow you to the edge of the galaxy.
Amisec is a potent alcoholic drink of varying quality widely available across the Imperium.
Of course, Lord Captain.
What is it like being a psyker?
Lord Captain, forgive me. But it would be like talking to a person born blind about colors. I could spend hours explaining, but it wouldn't make any sense to you. Every psyker feels their connection with the warp in their own way. One person might see spots and shadows out of the corner of their eye. Another feels fingers running down their spine. As for me, I've got a door in my head. One that's open just a crack. There's no way to close it, no matter how hard I try. I've just had to get used to the whispers from the other side. When I need to use it for work, I listen in more closely. But I usually just try not to notice it.
What would happen if your door burst open?
Well, if the door opens, that means somebody's planning to come in, right? But screw them. They're not coming through. Trust me, I know how to keep my valuable head locked up tight.
Are you afraid of losing control?
Only losers who are afraid of their own gift lose control. Or idiots who never figure out what they are before it's too late. Or little kids who want to play around with their shiny new toy. If you don't know the limits of your abilities, or you're always bouncing around in your own head, that's a recipe for disaster.
So how do you live with the whispering?
Training, habit, and a little Amisec and a couple other things you can get on the lower decks. If you put all those together, it makes things bearable. Sometimes I even wonder if I'm imagining half the voices I hear. You know, when life on board gets a little boring. Better than listening to the living, anyhow.
Can you see my future?
All right. That's what I'm here for, after all. So, I'm just going to lean on that door in my head a little more, prick up my ears, and listen to what the warp's got to say about you. If you'll allow it, I can listen right now.
Yeah, let's do it.
All right. Let's hear what they're whispering about you.
Adir laughs, rubs her hands together, and suddenly freezes with a vacant smile on her face. Her head slightly tilted. You feel goosebumps appear on your skin, and your collar begins to waver ever so slightly, as if moved by a breeze from a half-open door.
Seek not on firm ground, but in a golden hall suspended in the void. There waits a child without kin, but with a name blind to truth. She draws the brush across the canvas and does not notice that her palette is full not of paint, but of blood. And with each smear, this well does not deplete, but fills and fills up to the brim. One thing is clear. When this vessel overflows, none will remain unstained. Among the blind men and false prophets, a red-robed sage seeks the answer to a question. He does not know that it is not the answer he must seek, but the question that will draw everything into focus. Will you help him, rogue trader? But mark that sometimes ignorance is sweeter than oblivion. A chained hound chases after glimmers of the aurora, but sparks in the scent of oil confound his nose. The chain trails after him. What will happen if you pick it up? Will you become his master, or merely another beast in the pack of his true lord? The glow of dawn bursts forth from its prison. Dungeon walls cannot contain the dark essence wallowing in the dust. A naive cub pushes his nose into a familiar hand, one that holds death in twisted glass. Cherish it or cast it off as a burden. The sword of change has already been raised. What is one more life to it? I'm sorry, Lord Captain. The voices are going wild. I can't make out a thing. I'll try to rein them in, somehow. But for now...
She shrugs sheepishly and sniffs. Alright, I am going to be curious because all of those things are going to have to do with main story shit in this game, guaranteed. We might have to return to this later in the game and see if we can connect the dots. Alright, but I think I need to end this episode. We're a little bit over time, so we're going to have to do some more talking with Idira later.
Whenever you need me.
So this is where we're going to end the episode. Thank you all for being here. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and I'll see you all in the next one. Have a good one, everybody. Bye.
I'd like to give a very special shout out to my patron supporters: Darren York, ZTD, Knife Namaste, Kyle the Monarch, Chris Murphy, JW, Quinless, Vlado101, Andy Ford, Bruce Wizzle, Black Mamba 90, Eureka Gecko, A Happy Fat Panda, Turkeyfoot 27, Pedo Kuto, Shadow Raven, and Nadia N. If you would also like to join this tier or any others, check out my memberships or my Patreon in the description down below.